Hello and welcome. My name is Megan Lucky and this is A Lucky Life. Come along with me as I try and get to know myself better and hopefully help you get to know yourself better too. Happy November, you guys. I can't believe it's already November. And I vividly remember saying this 100 times. I feel like every week I say, I can't believe it's already been another week. But time really does fly, so it's important to practice presence. But I had such a fun Halloween weekend, and I hope you guys had a great Halloween and Halloween weekend too. And maybe you're even doing it this weekend. I heard some people had Halloween parties the following weekend. I feel like for me, I always do it before, but to each their own. And any excuse to continue the holiday, I'm here for it. I dressed up as Pamela Anderson. Shocker. I mean, if you've been following the podcast, I literally have an episode that is called In My Pamela Anderson Era. Sorry. I also dressed up as Andy Anderson from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And that costume was seriously for the girlies because every time we went out, guys are like, what are you, Beauty and the Beast? Like, or like had no idea what we were. Sometimes when you would say it, they're like, oh yeah, like I kind of remember that. But all the girlies, whenever the girlies were like, hey, I know what you are, like that costume is great. Oh my God, it gave me so much joy and satisfaction. 10 out of 10. I loved that costume and I highly recommend you do that one next year. It's easy for the guys. They literally just wear a suit and you can take pictures just like the cover of the movie, which is what we did. However, I did I did spend a little too much on the costume just because I got the dress custom made. It wasn't that expensive, okay? But still, like, it's not like it's not like a casual, like, cheap little Spirit Halloween costume. So, which is all, I'm all here for that too. I just really love Halloween and tend to go all out. So if you are like me and you want a fun costume to do with your boyfriend, do it. Or without your boyfriend. You don't need a boyfriend to do it. So that was so much fun. Spooky season is now over, sadly enough. But I'm here for the holidays. Like Thanksgiving's coming up. I love me some good food and family and giving thanks. As we know, I talk about gratitude a lot on the podcast. So I'm excited for that. I'm also excited for Christmas. Big Christmas girly as well. Who doesn't love getting presents? Such a bad look. Anyways, but I do. It's true. I love getting and giving big time. I really do. There's no better feeling in the world to me. Maybe that's a lie, but I really do love giving a good gift and like knowing someone well and knowing that they're going to love a gift. Oh, the best feeling. But I'll talk about that more in later episodes to come. So before I get any deeper into this podcast, which I'm excited for this podcast, I'm going to kind of like recap a lot of what we've talked about and what this podcast is all about. Somebody reached out on my podcast DMs, on my podcast Instagram DMs, and they said, which also, oh my gosh, so many tangents, ADHD, and oh my God, another tangent was coming up. This is why I can't have a podcast by myself. But I do anyway. So which of those tangents am I going to go on? Okay, so ADHD. Last week, I talked about ADHD with Coach Ron, who is incredible. I learned so much. I've been dealing with ADHD since I was like, and I still have problems saying the H because for my whole life, I called it ADD. But as Ron educated us last week, you basically you have the H, you just don't present or you just don't like know because a lot of the times it's misinformed. So anyways, back to what I was saying. That was a great episode. Go check it out. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So somebody reached out in my DMs and was like, hey, like I'm a new listener to the podcast. Like, is there any old episodes that you recommend that I go back and listen to? And I was like, that's a good idea. And I'm going to make this episode kind of an example, not an example, but a recap of what this podcast is all about and what each episode and highlight some of the episodes and where it all started and how it all came from. So we're going to go back through that today. But first, as we do every episode, I'm going to pull a card. Usually it's a tarot card. Sometimes it's an affirmation card. This week it's an affirmation card because I don't have my tarot cards. This deck, my lovely cousin got me, and I've used it before. It's called the Super Attractor deck. by Gabby Bernstein, who is very popular and amazing. So I'm going to pull one affirmation card that will set the message and the tone for what we need to hear for the week and for the day and for everything. Okay. True manifestations are powered by service and love. That's perfect for what I'm about to talk about. And as someone who's a yogi and a true believer in manifesting and giving back and being of service and giving love to get love, I really feel that deeply in my soul. It also kind of goes along with the theme of the podcast, which I'm about to talk about. So let's get into that. I started this podcast back in March of this year, so 2023 March, and I started it because I was on a journey to find myself. And I know that's so cliche and woo-woo, but I was reading a book. I just finished 2 books, so I can't remember which one it was. It was either The Power of Bad, which I have also been talking about a lot, or How to Build a Second Brain, which I'm also going to talk about today, which is about like the benefits of taking notes and distilling those notes and having a second brain, a virtual second brain that you can access at any time with a collection of notes and thoughts and excerpts from anything that you found interesting and helpful throughout your whole life. So anyways, the quote, one of these authors said something about how it's actually so practical. It's a very practical use of your time to find yourself and to know who you are deeply. I also saw or heard, I was listening to a meditation, and the quote that they used was, "We don't attract what we want, we attract what we are." So in order to attract what we want, we have to become what we want, who we want. And then we can get what we want. But in this current state, we attract what we are and what we're ready for. So finding out who you are and what you really want is truly crucial in order to become the best, truest version of yourself and to be able to truly manifest like everybody wants to be able to manifest. And maybe you don't believe it and that's your choice. But I choose to believe it because that belief serves me. And I've been talking a lot about that on the podcast as well. Like, it's important that we choose our beliefs and aren't just going along with the ones that we've been given, because your beliefs are supposed to feel true to you and they're supposed to serve you. So if that belief and your faith lies in whatever religion you believe in, great. Then that should serve you and that should make you feel good about who you are and how you're living your life. So I choose to believe in like the power of the universe or God, whatever you want to call that higher power, and that ability, a law of attraction, to put out the energy that you want to receive. And that's the way the universe works. I believe in karma, all that jazz. So, okay. So how did this all start? Finding myself. So if you don't know, you probably do. I chugged a beer on the Jumbotron at the US Open and it went viral, and it happened twice. And it was just like a super fun, silly moment that changed the course of my life. And I also was working in the city in a corporate job for like 4 or 5 years. And I had a lot of ups and downs in those years. And I lost my job almost a year ago, like just over a year ago. And it was not because of anything I did, even though some articles like to say it was because I chugged the beer. It is not. They laid off my whole team. No hard feelings. It was what it was. So, and a third of the company. So after that, I was in such a deep thinking period of life where I was like, I don't know who I am and what I really want. And I feel like I'm just going down a path that I'm not sure I want. And I remember thinking to myself, and I say like I looked hard at myself in the mirror. I don't know if I was physically looking at myself in the mirror, but I remember thinking long and hard about, okay, I see where this path is going to take me. I see where this corporate ladder is going to take me, where this white picket fence life could take me. And there's nothing wrong with that life. And I think that could be a good life. But is it the life that I really want? And what am I going to, like, can I do something about that? Is it too late to do something about that? Do I want to, like, take the chances to change that? Or is that something I don't really want? Or is it something I don't want because I'm scared? So I was like, I really need to change something. And this layoff is kind of a gift for me to change things and do something different and really go find myself. So it took me, I was like, okay, I'm going to go do something different. But then I started to get doubts, feel worried, get fearful about what could come. And I stalled doing anything differently. I just kind of was like, I'm not ready to go right back into the corporate world. I was a waitress for a little while, and then I quit that, and I like had a month where I was kind of depressed. And I wasn't like, I had all these intentions to do these great different things with my life, but I just wasn't doing anything. And then I decided I wanted to travel, but I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I can afford it. I didn't want to leave my boyfriend. I didn't want to leave my family. And then I decided, fuck it. I'm going to do this. And I had really great support system that I was so lucky to have. And they pushed me to make it happen. And I pushed myself to make it happen. I made it happen because I volunteered and I stayed. I through Workaway, which is a great program, you're able to volunteer and exchange your hours of service for stay, lodging, and food oftentimes. So I did 2 sets of Workaway situations for 2 weeks each in France. And then I did some affordable yoga retreats, one in Italy, one in Greece, for, like a week or a few days. And then in between, I hopped around and stayed for cheap wherever I could, and traveled solo. So that was my first, like, real solo trip and excursion to find myself. And I know that it's very woo-woo coded. And I'm using, like, Gen Z language. I feel so cool. Very woo-woo coded. But like I said, and like this author said, it's very practical use of your time and resources to find yourself so that you're not like thinking back years later being like, what the fuck did I do with my life? And having a midlife crisis and realizing that you never lived for your true self and you were just on the hamster wheel of what society wanted you to do and not what you really wanted to do. So I have been given this gift and this privilege of a year, basically, to go explore and find myself and figure out who I want to be, what I want to do. And it's an ongoing journey. And so that's something that really needs to be said. You're always going to be finding yourself, and it's okay to change and evolve as you learn who you are and who you want to be. So there's never going to be one find yourself that you found. But you can get a lot closer and you can work on it. So through this podcast, I have given you my tips and tricks that I've been using, and I have been vulnerable through the process of how I've been finding myself. And I'm sharing that with you because I want to be, and I posted this quote on my Instagram not that long ago. It said something like, maybe you were given this mountain to show that others that it's climbable or that it's movable or something like that. And I genuinely, like, I have the chills right now. Like, I genuinely feel to my core that these things, these fears that I have that I'm overcoming by having this podcast there's a reason for it. And I want to help other people. And even if it's just one person that your words change, or like they light a bulb in somebody else and help them overcome their own fears and demons, then that's amazing. And that's what drives me. So I have a lot of joy just in myself to give that. And it's been a roller coaster. Like truly, it's been a roller coaster for me. And it's been really fun to have this podcast. But more than ever, I feel like I'm growing and I'm becoming a better version of myself, and I'm finding it just through telling you guys. So if I were to give you 5, essentially, I always give 5 as like the magic number, but then I always like weave so many in, like one of the things is like 5 things in one. So 5 kind of my top tips for getting started on finding yourself. And I'm going to try to tie back. Oh my gosh, my dogs. I'm sorry. They see another dog, so they have to bark. 5 of my best tips that will help you get started in taking this journey and really working on yourself and finding yourself so that you can pivot however you want to pivot and start becoming the version of yourself that you want to become, and finding out what that really is and who that really is. So let's start with the first one that I wrote, is spending time alone. And there's an episode that I have on this, so you can go back and listen to this if you're very interested in this topic. Number 1, how to be alone. That's the episode. I'm not sure what number it is, but you can find it. This is probably one of the most important things in terms of finding yourself, because we're so distracted in today's society with everything going on around us, all the news, all the media, social media, all of our friends, the just things going on, games, work, everything. We're very easily, our attention is in high demand. So spending time meditating, even if that's hard for you, there are so many amazing resources that can help you get started easily and tailor to you. Just keep trying until you find the right one, or try another method like journaling, or just taking a walk by yourself and doing an activity that is relatively distractless. That's not a word, but I made it one. I don't think it's a word. By yourself. So starting out with alone time, like genuine alone time, and really exploring some of the questions that you have about your life, and not letting it be heavily influenced by the external world around you. So that's number 1. And like I said, that episode is how to be alone. The second thing is trying new things, new experiences, traveling. Like I just explained, that was one of the things that I did to really start to go on this journey. And you don't have to, and this is another caveat. Like I said, like it was such a privilege for me to be able to take all this time away from a job to be able to go find myself and like really dedicate my time. And I also hope that I can still give you things that'll help you whether you have a job or not, because these are tools that anybody can use. But this was a privilege that I was able to like move back with my parents and not have to be totally distracted. That's just like, for me, it was a gift, and I was able to. And I also think I'm somebody who I needed that. At that point in my life, I really needed that. And now I'm getting back to the phase where I'm ready to go back and like have a real job. I know who I am so much more now. And I still want to continue the podcast and all these creative projects that I found out who I am while I was doing all of this, and continue that on with a job. But now I know deeper about who I am and what I want and what aligns with me and what doesn't. Again, it's an ongoing process, but you can still do these things with a job. You can find time, and I have to do an episode on finding time and how you can find time no matter what for yourself, even if it's like 5 minutes, like waking up or going to bed, whatever, a little later and earlier, for yourself every day or even on a weekend, find an hour or 2 hours to take yourself to a museum, to take yourself for a walk, to just be alone and try something new. And you don't have to be alone for trying new things. But again, the whole idea is finding yourself. And it's not always as easy to do that when you're with somebody else, especially if you're conditioned to behave a certain way, whatever. So just try to do it alone. Try these new things alone. Travel somewhere by yourself. You'll learn so much, especially if you're doing it for a good amount of time. Even if it's just a weekend, that would be great. And if you can put the phone aside for a weekend, like maybe not even totally aside, like of course there's emergencies, but find a way for you to kind of take the distractions out for one weekend. Take a new course, like a cooking class, a course on something you want to learn how to do, learn a new language, learn a new skill, read a new book. Sorry, I have some notes. I'm just looking at them. Open your mind, try out new passions, explore passions that you already have, new hobbies, and just try new things. And if you don't like it, okay, you don't like it. You learned something about yourself. It's still information. But if you like it, great, then you learned information. So that's the second tip. And I have an episode on that, sort of. It's called Do It Scared. And it talks about trying new things. And even when they're really scary, like when I talked about teaching my first yoga class or starting to teach at a studio and being really nervous, even though it was something that I loved doing. And I loved learning. It was still really scary, and it took adjusting to and fear overcoming to do these things. So that's a good one. If you want to try to work on doing things, even if they're really outside your comfort zone, that's where you grow the most. That's where you learn who you are the most and who you want to be the most. And pushing that comfort zone will help you figure these things out. So number 3, all these kind of go hand in hand. Let go of what others think of you. The episode that I feel like is most about this one is called Focus on Your Garden and how to grow your garden and not compare your garden to others because you're growing onions and someone else is growing carrots. So focus on your garden. Don't worry about so much about what other people think. Because like I said, you don't want to be looking back on your life and be like, holy shit, I lived for everybody else around me. And coming from a people pleaser, I'm trying to figure that out now so that I don't look back and realize that I did that and I wasted my one precious life that we have trying to cater to everybody else and fit into a box. So as best as you can, try to block the noise out, especially if people who aren't in your arena, like decide who in your life, whose opinions you truly value for certain things and take those opinions into consideration. But ultimately, you decide how you want to live your life. You decide if you want to let your fears be the dictator of your life or not. You don't let other people's fears and judgments dictate how you live your life. Okay? You be who you want to be so that you don't regret it down the road and that you get to enjoy a beautiful, authentic life. So don't like society has so many fear mongers and people out there who will tell you what you should or shouldn't do. And if you let them get to you, they win and nobody wins. So don't worry about what other people think and try your best to learn whatever way works for you to let that click in your head. Okay, number 4. Self-reflection / improvement, affirmations, gratitude. Like I said, this was the one with a lot of things shoved into it. I have a couple episodes on this one. Actually, the whole fucking podcast is about this one. Self-reflection, growth, being open-minded and willing to look at yourself from a lens that is more open to feedback and doesn't feel offended by that feedback, but takes that feedback as an ability to improve and grow and become the better version of yourself. And like I said, only trust certain people's feedback that you fully respect and trust, and disregard the feedback that doesn't serve you and that you don't feel you truly identify with. So that's important. Growing, reflecting on your days, your weeks. I just did an episode not too long ago called Affirmation Regulation. And I read this book, which I have right here, called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, which talks about all things finding yourself, bettering yourself, reflecting, self-reflection, spending days at the end of the day where you journal about your whole day and reflect on what served you and what felt good and what maybe wasn't the best use of your resources and your time, and reflecting every day, reflecting every week or every month, whatever works for you, and truly being able to have a critical lens on yourself just so that you can truly improve, and not critical in the sense where you're shitting on yourself, you hate yourself. That never works. But a truly like, okay, here's what I want to do better. And it doesn't mean I'm a fuck up or I'm a failure, but I'm learning and it's progress and I'm making growth, but this is the next step that I want to take. And this is what I want to release and eliminate from my life. Just like being able to like have a truthful lens on that will do wonders for you. And then, like I said, affirmations and gratitude. These are tools that we can use to reflect and better ourselves and improve our lives. I have an episode on gratitude. It's my 27th birthday episode, and I'm pretty sure 27 things that I'm grateful for. No, I actually think I did something different, but it was definitely about gratitude. So go listen to that episode for an exercise on gratitude, because the more that we're grateful and happy with now in our lives, the more we welcome that energy, just because we are that energy. We attract what we are. And when we're grateful and happy for what we have, we get more of that. And we start to see more of that because we're changing the way that our mind works. And then our subconscious break into action and they look for more of those things and they create more of those things, those positive, happy feelings. So yay, affirmations basically do the same thing. So that affirmation regulation episode is great for that, and creating your own affirmations that help stomp your fears out and also help you create better positive thoughts for yourself. Okay, I'm running out of time and I always do this. So last one is the dream book episode. It's called Dream Book. And then there's a goal setting episode called Goal Getter. And both of those things are about dreaming about your future, having a vision that you really feel excited about. And hopefully you've done all those other steps to get you to this point where you are starting to have a better understanding of who you are, what you like, where you feel pulled to, and create goals for yourself, create visions and dreams, and start to really go for them in whatever way works for you. But those 2 episodes are great ways to start to do that. But yeah, so I'm really excited this episode just honestly felt really good to do. And I feel like I should do them every so often for new listeners. But finding yourself is a very practical use of your time and your resources. Okay. And I really hope that me showing you my journey of how I'm finding myself can help you on your journey to help you continue to find yourself too. So I love you guys and I'm really excited. I have another fun guest either next week or the week after. I'm not sure. It's a Friday interview. So it's either going to be a buzzer beater or I'll push it to the next week. So I can't wait for you guys to see it. I'm super excited about things to come, and happy November. Love you guys. Hello and welcome. My name is Megan Lucky and this is A Lucky Life. Come along with me as I try and get to know myself better and hopefully help you get to know yourself better too.